birthday, kids. What time is it?
Hello, Geek Timers. This is Keith from GeekTime TV here with a Wonder Woman 1984 review. I'm sure most of you have seen it, but if you haven't, there are some mild spoilers. Review. Let's get started, shall we? So, Wonder Woman 1984, probably the one of the most anticipated films of the year, and one of the biggest duds that I've ever seen. You know, it became pretty apparent by the time this was over that the first Wonder Woman, while a rousing success in a movie I personally really liked, clearly had some oversight from Zack Snyder as far as the vision for the Justice League. And so Patty Jenkins kind of had to stay within a certain constraint while making it. And clearly, with this movie, all that's been removed. She had a hand in writing the script, she produced and directed, and it went way off the rails. So let's get started, shall we? I knew something was wrong right off the bat when we're back at Themyscira in the opening scene for more young Diana, because we didn't get it yet from the first movie, so we need more. And to prove that young Diana was, uniquely gifted. So in this scene, she has to run this gauntlet of tasks, I guess you'd call it. She goes through all these different kind of landscapes, and on the way there's markers that her and the adult Amazon warriors have to hit with colored arrows to signify that they've reached the next stage of the gauntlet. And of course, 8-year-old Diana is competing against adult Amazon warrior princesses. And oh, by the way, some of the worst CGI I've seen in a major motion picture. Right off the bat, out of the gate, this arena scene in particular looked really, really bad. At one point, Diana falls off her horse, and she finds a shortcut to get back into the race. And when she finishes up, she gets a lecture from her mother on cheating, and that you have to be truthful to be a hero, and be true to oneself, and yada yada yada. And the reason I had a problem with this entire scene is that it took about 25 minutes to tell. This is something that could have been done in 3 to 5 minutes. It's almost like a 20-minute prologue to the film. Then we get the opening credits and we jump into 1984 for absolutely zero reason whatsoever. This movie could have been done in a contemporary time. There was no reason to set it in 1984, except to capitalize on 80s nostalgia, popular because of Stranger Things. So here we get a kind of almost a slapsticky, farcical robbery attempt from a couple of thugs, foiled by a Wonder Woman, of course. But it's the way it's shot and edited is that they don't want to really reveal Wonder Woman, because I guess she's trying to keep it on the down low. She doesn't want the public to really know she exists. And then we find out that the robbery attempt was kind of because there's a business front, and there was something pretty valuable that was being, run out the back door, if you will. So then we cut to Diana's present day job. She works at one of the museums at the Smithsonian, and there she meets one of her new colleagues, Kristen Wiig. Now, I love Kristen Wiig as a comedy actress. I do. However, the awkward, unsure of herself, goofy kind of Kristen Wiig is getting tired. And that's what we get here in this movie. We get the same old, oh, I'm insecure, I'm unsure of myself, and the cliche paper drop introduction scene between future frenemies Diana Prince and Barbara Minerva. So they end up going to dinner because Diana wants to befriend her and know more about her, because Barbara is an archaeological expert. So what we find out is there was a MacGuffin hidden in that early robbery attempt. It was called a Dreamstone. Basically, it's and they admit to this. It's the monkey's paw. So, whatever your heart desires, if you wish, it shall come true, yada, yada, yada. So Diana wishes for Steve to come back, because apparently she's been lost and pining for him for about 40 years. See what I did there? Pining for him, because Chris Pine plays Steve Trevor. Yeah. And then we're introduced to Pedro Pascal. who plays Max Lord, our quote-unquote villain of the movie. He's an 80s businessman. He fancies himself an oil tycoon. As the movie progresses, we find out he's actually a broke loser. All the oil wells he invested in were dry and not earning any money, and all his investors are upset with him, and he's been living on loans and blah blah blah. And he's got a son who is of Asian descent for absolutely no reason whatsoever, because we never meet the mom. So we just have to take the movie's word for it that he probably has an Asian ex-wife of some sort, or wife. Maybe he's still married. They never go into that at all. Anyway, he claims he goes to the museum and he wants to give them a huge endowment, and he earns the trust of Barbara, who kind of has a little schoolgirl crush on him. And while he's wooing Barbara, he steals our MacGuffin and becomes the MacGuffin. His big wish is to be the Dreamstone itself. Anyway, we also find out during that time Barbara has used the Dreamstone, and she's wished to be cool like Diana. So there's a fundraiser that night, or not a fundraiser, but it's a gala to celebrate the endowment from Max Lord. And Diana goes to spy on him, basically, because she doesn't trust him. And Barbara goes all vamped out in her new look at me garb. And while Diana's there, her wish comes true, and Steve Trevor comes back. However, she only sees him as Chris Pine Steve Trevor. He's actually in the body of a different guy. So Diana immediately goes to bed with him. The next morning, we have the wacky scene. And again, here's where we get into pacing problems with this movie and editing problems and the rule of threes. In comedy, 3 times is funny. 6 times is not. We get outfit change after outfit change, which we saw in the trailer anyway. Played for laughs, but it goes on and on and on, and it's just not funny, and it falls flat. Barbara, meanwhile, continues her metamorphosis into vampy, sexy, dangerous Barbara. And here's where I have another problem with the film. She wished to be noticed. She's tired of being, the quiet, meek, little unnoticed girl, which they take great pains to go out of their way in the beginning, where every time, she talks, people ignore her. They forget her name. They don't even know she works there. And then when she starts dressing kind of, vampy, if you will, suddenly all the men are like, "Hey, Barbara, how's it going, baby?" And when she walks the streets, every single male wants to rape her, which, okay, Patty, we get your feminist agenda, but not every male who looks at an attractive female is a rapey dude. So anyway, she gets her wish, and then anybody who kind of catcalls her, she beats up. So she wanted to be noticed. She gets noticed and then gets angry about it. Motivations were all over the place in this film, which is all plot and no story, by the way. It's just a plot. There's absolutely no story to this thing. Then we're treated to more boring scenes of Chris Pine and Gal Gadot just kind of reacquainting themselves as she's kind of walking him through 1984. So we get the inverse of the first movie, where Diana was the fish out of water. Now Steve's the fish out of water. This is actually part of the most enjoyable part of the movie, where he looks at things in wonder and awe and appreciation, especially when he goes to the Museum of Air and Space. They find out that Max is on his way to Cairo because he's going to slowly start taking over the world somehow by granting wishes to world leaders and then in exchange taking something back. It's kind of convoluted and really difficult to wrap your head around because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So anyway, they go to the Air and Space Museum and steal a perfectly preserved, fueled up jet out on the landing strip and steal it. And during the pursuit, Diana remembers a trick her father taught her when she was little, how to make things invisible. She's never done it before except to a coffee mug, but this time she can make a moving jet invisible. So they make it invisible and take a slight detour on their mission to fly through some fireworks on the 4th of July. really kind of dumb scene. A dumb scene in a movie riddled with dumb scenes. In this one, Steve Trevor tells her how he learned to fly by, feeling the air and embracing it, or whatever he says to her, which they bring back later in the film when Wonder Woman learns to fly. And almost taken from the original Superman movie, the romantic flight with Lois Lane and Clark. This one falls flat because Wonder Woman's teaching herself to fly while hearing Steve's dictation from this scene in her head. It just, yeah, this movie's terrible. Anyway, we get to Cairo. I'm telling you, this movie is flat out boring as hell. At this point, I think we're about 90 minutes into the film and nothing has really happened of any consequence. And Max has tricked the leader of Egypt into taking his big wish, and in return he steals his security force, and he's building a little army or whatnot. And then we get a scene stolen completely from Raiders of the Lost Ark, only far inferior, where Diana basically chases down a convoy and disrupts it. But we find out, and this is where we start to find out, that to get your wish granted, you have to lose something in return. Again, the monkey's paw thing. And Diana is losing her powers. She gets wounded by a bullet. She has trouble, at points in time with strength. She loses her lasso trying to save kids. It's supposed to be dramatic, but it's really just falls flat. And then they find out after a call back home to Barbara that there's some kind of a holdover from the 70s, like a conspiracy guy who's got a book of secrets on the Dreamstone. So they decide to meet there the next day. So Barbara, now in full stripper mode, meets Diana and Steve there, and they read the book, and they find out that there's bad juju surrounding this Dreamstone, and that all the civilizations that have come in contact with it have eventually been destroyed. And that means there's doom and gloom, especially when they find out that Max has now gone to the President of the United States. So they infiltrate the White House with the help of a dopey tour guide that she met earlier in the film. And they confront Max, who's already got the president to wish for all the nuclear weapons on the planet. It's a really bad version of Ronald Reagan, by the way. Just awful. And Diana has more trouble with her powers here. There's a kind of an okay shootout, I guess, was one of the smaller highlights of the film. But Max escapes, and it's time for Diana to have to renounce her wish. She's losing all her powers. Steve finally convinces her that it's over. She has to do the right thing. She can't have everything. She can't have it both ways. She can't have Steve and her powers and save the world. So bye-bye, Steve. And then she stops home to pick up this armor from a legendary warrior princess from Themyscira that is shown in the beginning of the film. And here's again where there's some bad editing. I've seen a lot of people online saying they never showed her go get the armor, but they did. It's a really quick cut where she it's in one of those hanging, like a travel, when you travel with a suit, you put it in like a hanging bag, if you will. So she just unzips the bag and you see a little bit of the armor, but there was no big reveal that she stopped back at her apartment to go get this thing. That was hanging in her apartment. Anyway, so she tracks them back to this satellite network TV station where Max has found out through the power of stealing plot points from Batman Forever that he can tap into everyone's mind with this satellite TV broadcast system that's been innovated or something. And waiting there is Barbara in full horrific CGI and makeup. When I first saw this in the trailers, I thought for sure this was unfinished effects, but it's not. This is what it looks like. This is the character Cheetah from DC Comics, and this is awful. This is just what else can you say? This is a $200 million movie with some really awful visual effects and makeup. So, of course, the famous scene, Barbara, what have you done? And here's another point in the film that is completely ridiculous. We spend all this time watching Barbara evolve into this cheetah character. She gets more and more malevolent as we go along. She gets stronger, and then she's dispatched in about 2 minutes. There's no climactic battle with her at all. It just really doesn't take Diana any time at all to dispatch her. Then Diana goes inside the facility, and we have Max in there becoming a doomsday weapon, yet another giant light beam in the sky, total annihilation plot point. And Diana has to stop him, and she stops him by getting him to renounce his wishes and getting him to make everyone on the planet renounce their wishes. Yeah. In that exact language. So it has montages of people all around the world saying, "I renounce my wish," because everyone talks like that. So that's it. That's it. I give this 1 star out of 5. It is hot garbage. It is long. It is boring. It is dull. It is bloated. It has very little character development at all. There are entire passages that could have been told in a montage. For example, Max Lord visiting people over and over again to get them to make a wish so that he could capitalize either by stealing their health or something else. But we get the point. We don't need to see these long, drawn-out scenes with almost the same exact dialogue over and over. And it's pretty ironic that Patty Jenkins, who's in love with speed ramps and slow motion, which is done ad nauseum in this movie, has no idea what a montage is. And she could have cut 45 minutes out of this thing with a couple montages. Just get to the point. It's long, meandering, pointless, boring, dull, and a complete bomb. So that's my unscripted review of Wonder Woman 84. Let me know if you agree with likes, dislikes, comments, you name it. Please subscribe to the channel. We really could use your help, and we will see you next time. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure you click the little bell icon to be notified anytime someone from our show drops new content here. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Say, kids, what time is it?